Hello.
I never saw it coming. One minute we were at my friend's party. The next my wife was screaming that I was stupid while hurling a glass at my face. All because I accidentally spilled wine on her dress. Blood dripped down my cheek as everyone stared in shock. But that public humiliation was just the beginning. What she did next would destroy everything I thought I knew about the woman I married. My name is Curtis Vargas. I'm 36 years old, and until recently, I thought I had it all figured out. A decent job that paid the bills, a house I inherited from my grandmother in a quiet neighborhood outside of Portland, and what I believed was a loving marriage. Boy, was I wrong about that last part. I met Carla at my buddy Dave's New Year's party 5 years ago. She walked in wearing a silver dress that caught the light just right, her dark hair cascading down her shoulders. I couldn't take my eyes off her. When our gazes met across the room, I felt a jolt of electricity I hadn't experienced since high school. She had this magnetic smile that made you feel like you were the only person in the room. "You've been staring at me for 20 minutes, she said when she finally approached me. "Either I have something on my face, or you're working up the courage to talk to me." I laughed, embarrassed at being caught. "Can it be both?" Her smile widened. "I'm Carla." "Curtis," I replied, offering my hand. When our fingers touched, I knew I was a goner. That night, we talked until sunrise. She was smart, funny, and seemed genuinely interested in everything I had to say. By the time Dave was kicking out the last stragglers, I had her number and a promise to meet for coffee the next day. The first 2 years with Carla were like living in a dream. We'd take spontaneous road trips to the coast, spend lazy Sundays making breakfast and watching old movies, and stay up late talking about everything and nothing. She'd surprise me with tickets to concerts I mentioned wanting to see months earlier. I'd leave little notes in her purse for her to find during her day. We were that couple everyone secretly hates because we seemed so perfect. When I proposed on our second anniversary, she cried and said yes before I even finished asking. Our wedding was small but beautiful, in a rustic vineyard with fairy lights strung between the trees. Looking at our photos now, I can see something in her eyes I missed then, a certain distance, a guardedness that should have tipped me off. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me," she whispered that night as we danced under the stars. I believed her with every fiber of my being. A month after the wedding, my mother offered us her house when she decided to move to Florida to be closer to my sister. "Start your life together without a mortgage hanging over your heads," she said. I was hesitant. It felt like cheating somehow, but Carla loved the idea. "We can save for our dream house," she said, her eyes sparkling with plans. "Besides, it's perfect, and your mother hardly ever visits anyway." So we moved into my childhood home, with its creaking floorboards and the tree house my father built in the backyard before he passed. I thought we were building our future. Instead, I was setting the stage for my own personal nightmare. The wedding planning exposed the first cracks in our perfect relationship. Every time I brought up meeting Carla's parents, she'd suddenly remember an urgent email or phone call. "My folks are complicated," she finally admitted one night. "Dad's got health problems, and Mom never leaves his side. They're in Arizona now. The dry air helps his lungs." I suggested visiting them instead. She tensed immediately. "They're intensely private people, Curtis. They barely leave the house." Being the understanding guy I am, I dropped it. That's what love means, right? Respecting boundaries. 2 weeks before our wedding, Carla came home with puffy eyes and a forced smile. "Just got off the phone with my parents. They definitely can't make it." She busied herself with dinner preparations, chopping vegetables with unnecessary force. "I'm sorry, babe. Is your dad worse?" "Yeah, let's not talk about it." She changed the subject, but her hands trembled slightly. Our wedding day arrived. Perfect weather, great music, surrounded by my family and friends. The only thing missing was anyone from Carla's side. When my Uncle Tom, 6 beers deep, loudly asked about her family, I saw raw panic in her eyes before she composed herself. "They're in Arizona. Dad's health, you know." Later that night, I caught her swallowing pills in her hotel bathroom. "Just a headache," she explained. "Too much champagne." Life went on. We moved into my mother's house, and I thought we were building our future together. Then came the visitor. 3 months into our marriage, a stern man in a suit knocked on our door, asking for Carla. She was out shopping. "I'm Dr. Reynolds from Pinewood Behavioral Health. We've been trying to reach your wife about her treatment plan." My blood ran cold. "Treatment plan?" He looked confused. for her condition. She hasn't checked in for months or refilled her medications. We're concerned. After he left, I searched the house and found a shoebox hidden in her closet. Inside were medical records with diagnoses I couldn't pronounce and medication names I didn't recognize. And nothing about parents in Arizona. That night, I confronted her. "Who's Dr. Reynolds?" The color drained from her face. "Where did you hear that name?" "He came by today. Looking for you. Just a doctor who helped with some anxiety issues." "I'm fine now." I took a deep breath. "And your parents? Do they even exist, Carla?" Her expression hardened. "Don't be ridiculous." I stood my ground. "I want the truth." She broke down then, admitted her parents had disowned her years ago after what she called an incident. She never elaborated. I held her as she cried, believing love could heal any wound. I had no idea how deep those wounds went, or that they would soon become my own. Life with Carla deteriorated quickly after our first anniversary. The woman I married seemed to vanish, replaced by someone increasingly hostile and unpredictable. I came home late one night after helping Dave fix his truck. Something had blown in the engine, and I couldn't leave my buddy stranded. When I walked through the door at 11:30, Carla was waiting in the dark. "Having fun with your horse?" Her voice was ice cold. "What are you talking about?" "I was helping Dave with his truck." She laughed, a sound that sent chills down my spine. "Right. That's why you reek of perfume." I'd stopped at a gas station to wash the grease off my hands. The soap must have been scented. "This is ridiculous," I said firmly. "I'm not going to defend myself against something that didn't happen." She hurled a coffee mug at the wall, narrowly missing my head. "Don't lie to me." I didn't flinch. Instead, I stepped toward her, maintaining eye contact. "That's enough, Carla." She backed away, momentarily startled by my calm authority. Then her eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry. I don't know what's wrong with me lately." I'd had enough of the Jekyll and Hyde routine. I opened her purse and found 3 different prescription bottles, all barely touched. "Is this what Dr. Reynolds prescribed? Why aren't you taking them?" "They make me feel foggy," she whispered. "I hate them." "Well, I hate who you become without them." The words hung between us, harsh but honest. I'd always been straightforward. It's how my father raised me. "You need help, Carla. Professional help. And I'm going to make sure you get it." The next morning, I called Pinewood and scheduled an appointment. When Carla refused to go, I carried her to the car. She fought me, scratching my arms, but I was determined. "This isn't optional," I told her. "I made vows to you, and I'm keeping them, even when it's hard." At Pinewood, Dr. Reynolds explained Carla had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder with psychotic features. She'd been in their inpatient program before we met, but had self-discharged against medical advice. "She needs to restart her medication regimen immediately," he said. "And she needs therapy." I nodded, my jaw set. "Whatever it takes." On the drive home, Carla was subdued. "Why are you still with me?" she asked quietly. "Because I'm not the kind of man who walks away when things get tough." For a few weeks, she took her medication. Things improved, but I didn't know I was just experiencing the calm before the storm. My buddy Mark's promotion party couldn't have come at a worse time. Carla had been stable for 3 weeks on her medication, but I could tell she was slipping again. The night before, I caught her flushing pills down the toilet. "They're poisoning me," she whispered, eyes wild. "Making me into someone else." I should have called Dr. Reynolds right then. Instead, I thought a night out might do us good. "We don't have to stay long," I promised as I knotted my tie. "Just make an appearance, congratulate Mark, then head home." Carla seemed excited at first, wearing a red dress that reminded me of the woman I fell in love with. I allowed myself to hope. The party was in full swing when we arrived. Mark's backyard was strung with lights, a makeshift bar set up on the deck. I grabbed us both drinks and navigated through the crowd, keeping a protective hand on Carla's back. Things went smoothly until Mark's co-worker Jenny approached us. She'd worked with me years ago before I changed companies. "Curtis Vargas. It's been forever." She hugged me warmly. "How have you been?" I introduced her to Carla, who smiled stiffly. The conversation was pleasant enough, but I felt Carla's tension mounting with each passing minute. "So how do you two know each other?" she asked, voice tight. "We worked together at Patterson & Sons," I explained. "Jenny taught me everything I know about client relations." "I bet she did," Carla muttered. Jenny, sensing the atmosphere, excused herself. As soon as she was out of earshot, Carla turned on me. "You slept with her, didn't you?" I kept my voice low, steady. No, Carla. She's a former colleague. Nothing more. I saw the way she looked at you. Her voice was rising. Like she owns you. People were starting to glance our way. I needed to defuse the situation. Let's get some air, I suggested, taking her elbow gently. She jerked away. Don't touch me. The entire party fell silent. All eyes were on us. Mark appeared at my side, concern etched on his face. Everything okay here? Before I could answer, Carla's expression transformed into one of utter contempt. Oh, look, it's the best friend. Tell me, Mark, how many women have you and Curtis shared over the years? That's enough, I said firmly, squaring my shoulders. We're leaving. I reached for her arm again, accidentally jostling her glass. Red wine splashed onto her dress. The look she gave me could have frozen hell itself. You stupid, pathetic excuse for a man, she screamed, hurling her glass directly at my face. I didn't duck. The glass hit me hard, cutting my cheek, wine burning in the wound. Blood and Cabernet dripped onto my white shirt as the crowd gasped. Carla's rage turned to horror as she saw the blood. Oh God, Curtis, I didn't mean. I cut her off, my voice dead calm despite the throbbing pain. We're done here. I walked away, head high, ignoring the whispers. Mark followed me to the bathroom, handing me a towel. What the hell, man? She needs serious help. I examined the cut in the mirror. It would leave a scar. I know, I said, my resolve hardening. And she's going to get it, whether she wants it or not. The drive home from Mark's party was silent. Blood had dried on my face, and my shirt was ruined. Carla kept stealing glances at me, her anger replaced by something like fear. Curtis, I'm so sorry, she whispered as we pulled into the driveway. I said nothing, just walked into the house. Inside, I headed straight for the bedroom, packed a small bag with essentials, and grabbed my laptop. What are you doing? Carla asked, panic rising in her voice. I'm leaving, I said calmly. I can't do this anymore. Please, she begged, grabbing my arm. It was an accident. I'll take the medication, I promise. I'll be better. I'd heard these promises before. I gently removed her hand. You need help, Carla. Real help. Not just pills you flush when you think I'm not looking. I headed for the door, my resolve unwavering. As I reached for the handle, Carla screamed, a sound of pure anguish that stopped me cold. If you leave, I'll kill myself. Is that what you want? I turned slowly, looking her straight in the eyes. That's not going to work on me. Not anymore. For a split second, I saw something calculating behind her tears. Then her expression hardened. Fine. Go. You're just like all the rest. Weak when it really matters. I laughed then, a sound without humor. Weak. I've stood by you through every accusation, every mood swing, every cruel word. I've cleaned up your messes, lied to my friends, sacrificed my dignity. That wasn't weakness, Carla. That was loyalty. I opened the door, pausing on the threshold. But loyalty has to have limits, or it becomes self-destruction. I spent the night at Dave's place. In the morning, I called Dr. Reynolds and explained the situation. He suggested an intervention, bringing Carla to Pinewood for an evaluation, voluntarily if possible, involuntarily if necessary. She's a danger to herself and possibly others, he said gravely. She needs stabilization. I agreed to meet him at Pinewood that afternoon. Then I called my boss, requesting a few personal days. Finally, I drove back to the house, steeling myself for whatever awaited me. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the place was unnaturally quiet. I called Carla's name, my voice echoing through empty rooms. No answer. In the kitchen, I found a note. Since you think I'm crazy anyway, I might as well live up to expectations. Don't try to find me. My blood ran cold. I ran to our bedroom. Her closet was open, clothes scattered everywhere. Her passport was gone. So was the emergency cash we kept in the safe. I immediately called Dr. Reynolds, then the police. Officers arrived quickly, taking my statement with professional detachment. They couldn't do much. Carla was an adult who had left voluntarily. She's off her medication and potentially dangerous, I insisted. She needs help. The younger officer looked sympathetic. We'll put out an alert. That's all we can do for now. As they left, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You'll regret this. I didn't doubt it for a second. 3 days passed with no sign of Carla. I filed a missing person report, contacted her workplace, and called everyone we knew. Nothing. It was like she'd vanished into thin air. I returned to work, tried to maintain some normalcy. My coworkers seemed to sense something was wrong, but respected my privacy. The cut on my cheek was healing, but the scar would remain, a permanent reminder of that night. On day 4, I came home to find my front yard in shambles. Someone had uprooted the rose bushes my mother had planted, smashed the ceramic garden gnomes, and spray-painted "Liar" across the garage door. I knew who was responsible. I called the police again. The same officers arrived, took photos, and promised to increase patrols in the area. "She's escalating," I told them. "This isn't going to stop." The older officer nodded gravely. "Get security cameras. Document everything." That night, I installed a comprehensive security system, cameras covering every approach to the house, motion-activated lights, and new deadbolt on every door. I wasn't taking any chances. The next morning, my car wouldn't start. I popped the hood to find sugar in the gas tank and wires cut. The message was clear. Carla wanted to destroy my life piece by piece. I had it towed to a mechanic and took an Uber to work. My boss called me into his office as soon as I arrived. "Curtis, we have a situation." He looked uncomfortable. "Your wife called the HR department this morning. She made some disturbing accusations." My stomach dropped. "What kind of accusations?" "Domestic violence. She claims the cut on your face happened when she was defending herself against you." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "That's completely false. She threw a glass at me in front of 20 witnesses." He held up his hands. "I believe you, but we need to follow protocol. HR wants a statement." I spent my morning with the HR director, explaining the entire situation. She was sympathetic but businesslike. "We need to investigate any claims of this nature. I suggest you get statements from witnesses at the party." I nodded, already texting Mark. By lunchtime, he'd rallied 5 people who had seen the incident. Their statements were clear. I was the victim, not the aggressor. Driving home in my newly repaired car, I felt a familiar prickle on the back of my neck, the sensation of being watched. At a red light, I glanced in my rearview mirror. A blue sedan, 3 cars back, caught my attention. I couldn't see the driver clearly, but something about the car seemed familiar. When I turned onto my street, the sedan continued straight. I relaxed slightly, telling myself I was being paranoid. That night, I woke to the sound of breaking glass. Downstairs, a brick had been thrown through my living room window. Attached was a note. "Sleep tight." I called the police, filed another report. The responding officer looked grim. "Get a restraining order first thing tomorrow," he advised. "This isn't going to stop on its own." I knew he was right. Carla was just getting started. The restraining order was granted without hesitation. The judge reviewed the police reports, photos of the vandalism, and witness statements from Mark's party. "Mr. Vargas, this is a clear case of harassment and escalating threats," she said. "This order prohibits Carla Vargas from coming within 500 feet of you, your home, or your workplace." I thanked her, tucking the document into my briefcase. It was just paper, but it gave me legal recourse if Carla violated it. 2 days later, I was served with divorce papers. Carla was filing on grounds of physical and emotional abuse, claiming I had manipulated her into stopping her medication and isolated her from friends and family. "This is insane," I told my lawyer, David Stern, as we reviewed the filing. "It's completely backwards." David nodded grimly. "Unfortunately, this is a common tactic. She's trying to control the narrative. She's also demanding the house," I pointed out. "The house my mother gave us. We'll fight it," David assured me. "We have ample evidence of her behavior and mental state." The divorce proceedings were scheduled for the following month. In the meantime, I focused on documenting every incident, maintaining the security cameras, and trying to rebuild my life. Then Carla's campaign took an unexpected turn. She created a social media page titled "Surviving Curtis," where she posted fabricated stories of abuse and manipulation. She used old photos of herself with bruises I knew had come from a fall while hiking, as evidence of my violence. Former friends started calling, questioning me. Coworkers gave me sidelong glances. Even my mother called, concerned. "Curtis, what is happening?" she asked. "People are sending me links to these terrible accusations." "It's all lies, Mom," I said wearily. She's not well." I had David send cease and desist letters to every platform hosting her content. Some complied. Others cited free speech concerns. Meanwhile, the vandalism continued. My security cameras caught Carla spray painting my car at 3 a.m. I called the police immediately, showing them the footage when they arrived. "That's a clear violation of the restraining order," the officer said, taking notes. "We'll pick her up." But when they went to her hotel, she was gone. Like a ghost, she would appear, cause damage, then vanish. The night before our first court date, I received a package at my door. Inside was a dead rose and a note, "Till death do us part." I brought it to court the next day, along with all my evidence. Carla appeared with her attorney, looking nothing like the woman I'd married. Her hair was styled conservatively, her makeup subtle. She wore a modest dress and kept her eyes downcast, the perfect picture of victim. Her lawyer painted me as a controlling monster who had preyed on a vulnerable woman with a history of mental illness. When my turn came, I presented the truth, methodically, factually, without emotion. The security footage, the witness statements, the threatening notes. The judge watched it all, her expression unreadable. The battle lines were drawn. This was war. The court proceedings stretched over 3 grueling days. Carla's attorney portrayed her as a fragile victim manipulated by a controlling husband. They presented carefully selected text messages, photos taken out of context, and testimony from witnesses who had only known Carla for a few months. Then came my turn. David methodically dismantled their narrative with hard evidence. Security footage of Carla vandalizing my property, the threatening notes, testimonies from longtime friends who had witnessed her erratic behavior firsthand. The turning point came when Dr. Reynolds took the stand. He detailed Carla's medical history, her diagnosis, and her pattern of stopping medication. "In my professional opinion," he stated, "Mrs. Vargas is experiencing symptoms consistent with untreated bipolar disorder with psychotic features. Her accusations against Mr. Vargas align with paranoid thought patterns I've observed in her previous episodes." Carla exploded, lunging toward the witness stand. "You're all against me. All of you." The judge called for order as bailiffs restrained her. Her attorney looked mortified. The final blow came from Mark, who testified about the glass-throwing incident. He produced a video one of the party guests had recorded, clear footage of Carla screaming, throwing the glass, my bleeding face. During a recess, Carla's attorney approached David. "We're willing to discuss a settlement," he said quietly. "My client is reconsidering her position." David glanced at me. I nodded. "We're listening," he replied. The settlement was straightforward. I kept the house and my retirement accounts. Carla received a modest cash payment to help her get established elsewhere. Most importantly, she agreed to seek inpatient treatment at Pinewood. As we finalized the details, Carla sat stone-faced, refusing to look at me. Only once did our eyes meet. In that brief moment, I saw a flicker of the woman I had fallen in love with, scared, confused, lost. "I hope you get the help you need," I told her softly as we left the courtroom. She didn't respond, just turned away. The divorce was finalized a month later. I didn't hear from Carla again, though Dr. Reynolds confirmed she had checked into Pinewood as agreed. I thought it was over. Then, 3 months after the divorce, I arrived home to find an envelope on my porch. Inside was a letter written in Carla's familiar handwriting. "Curtis, I've been in treatment for 90 days now. Dr. Reynolds says I'm stabilizing. The medication is working this time because I'm actually taking it. I want to apologize for everything. The accusations, the vandalism, the lies. When I'm unmedicated, I become someone else, someone paranoid and cruel. That wasn't me, but I know that doesn't erase what I did. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm getting better, and I'm truly sorry for the pain I caused. Take care of yourself. Carla." I read it twice, unsure how to feel. Part of me was relieved she was getting help. Another part remained wary. I'd heard promises of change before. That night, I stored the letter in a drawer and went to bed alone, the house quiet around me. At 2 a.m., I woke to a noise downstairs, soft footsteps on the hardwood floor. My blood ran cold. I reached for my phone, ready to call 911, when my bedroom door slowly began to open. My bedroom door creaked open. I held my breath, finger hovering over the emergency call button. A silhouette appeared in the doorway, too tall to be Carla. "Curtis, you awake?" It was Dave's voice. Relief flooded through me. Jesus Christ, Dave. I almost called the cops. He flipped on the light. Sorry, man. I used the spare key you gave me. Saw your car outside, but you weren't answering your phone. We've been trying to reach you for hours. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand. 8 missed calls. What's going on? I asked, suddenly alert. Dave's expression was grim. It's Carla. She escaped from Pinewood this afternoon. Dr. Reynolds has been trying to reach you. My blood ran cold. Escaped? How? Apparently, she charmed her way into the administrative office, stole some keys. They've been searching for her since 4 p.m. I immediately called Dr. Reynolds, who confirmed the story. We've alerted the police, but I wanted to warn you personally. She was making excellent progress, Curtis. This is unexpected. Did she say anything before she left? Give any indication where she might go? There was a pause. She was asking about you, whether you were seeing anyone new. After hanging up, I checked all the doors and windows with Dave, making sure everything was secure. He offered to stay the night, but I declined. I've got the security system. I'll be fine. Dave left reluctantly. I spent the next hour reviewing security camera footage, checking for any sign of Carla. Nothing. Finally, exhaustion overcame vigilance. I fell into a restless sleep, dreaming of broken glass and accusations. Around 4 a.m., the security system chimed. Motion detected in the backyard. I bolted upright, grabbing my phone to check the camera feed. A figure was moving near the garden shed. Female, slender, wearing dark clothing. It had to be Carla. I called 911, reported a restraining order violation in progress. Then, against all common sense, I went downstairs. I couldn't just hide in my bedroom. I needed to face this. Face her. Once and for all. The kitchen door leading to the backyard had a clear view of the shed. Through the glass, I watched as Carla emerged, carrying something long and metallic. My heart sank. She found the old axe we used for chopping firewood. Headlights swept across the yard as a police cruiser pulled into my driveway. Carla froze, then suddenly charged toward the house, toward me. I backed away from the door, grabbing a kitchen chair as makeshift protection. The glass door shattered as Carla swung the axe, her face contorted with rage. You ruined everything, she screamed, stepping through the broken door. I held the chair between us. Carla, stop. The police are here. Don't make this worse. Worse. She laughed, a sound void of humor. Nothing could be worse than living inside my head. You have no idea what it's like. For the first time, I saw her clearly, not as my wife or my tormentor, but as someone trapped in a prison of her own mind. Behind the rage was raw, unfiltered pain. You're right, I said softly, lowering the chair slightly. I don't know, but I want to understand. Something flickered in her eyes, confusion, perhaps, or recognition. Before she could respond, officers rushed in, weapons drawn. Drop the weapon. Now. Carla turned toward the officers, axe still gripped in her hands. Time seemed to slow. I could see the calculation in her eyes, the desperate thoughts of someone with nothing left to lose. Carla, I said firmly, drawing her attention back to me. Think about what you're doing. This isn't you. It's the illness. Her hands trembled. You don't know me. I do. I insisted, taking a careful step forward. I know the real Carla, the woman I fell in love with. She's still in there, fighting to get out. Tears streamed down her face. I'm so tired of fighting. Then let them help you. Please. For a long moment, she stood frozen. Then, slowly, she lowered the axe. It clattered to the floor as she collapsed to her knees, sobs racking her body. The officers moved in, securing her gently but firmly. As they led her away, our eyes met one last time. There was recognition there, and something else, gratitude perhaps, or acceptance. The next few weeks passed in a blur of statements, repairs, and sleepless nights. Carla was committed to the state psychiatric hospital for long-term treatment. Her attack with a deadly weapon had crossed a line that couldn't be undone. Dr. Reynolds kept me updated on her condition. She's responding well to the new medication protocol. He told me 6 months after the incident. More stable than I've seen her in years. Will she ever be normal? I asked. Normal is a loaded term, he replied carefully. But with consistent treatment, people with her condition can lead balanced, productive lives. The key is acceptance. She's finally accepting her diagnosis. A year after Carla shattered my kitchen door, I received a letter from her new psychiatrist, Dr. Chun. Carla had requested a supervised meeting as part of her therapy. It's entirely your choice, Dr. Chun explained over the phone. But confronting past actions can be an important step in her recovery. I agreed, more curious than fearful. The hospital meeting room was bright and airy, nothing like the stark institutions portrayed in movies. Carla entered with a nurse, looking healthier than I'd seen her in years. Her eyes were clear, her movements calm. "Thank you for coming," she said, taking the seat across from me. "You look well," I offered. She smiled slightly. "I am most days. The medication helps. So does therapy. I'm learning to recognize when I'm slipping." We talked for an hour under Dr. Chen's watchful supervision. Carla explained her diagnosis in detail, how the illness distorted her perception, twisted innocent actions into perceived threats, convinced her of conspiracies that existed only in her mind. "I'm not asking for forgiveness," she said toward the end. "Some things can't be forgiven. But I needed you to know that I understand now. What I did to you is wrong. All of it." As I drove home, mixed emotions swirled through me. Relief that Carla was getting help. Sadness for what could have been. And strangely, peace. The chapter was finally closing. Today, 2 years after that midnight confrontation, I've rebuilt my life. The house is mine again, renovated and free of painful memories. I have dinner with my mother every Sunday. I've even started dating again, cautiously, with eyes wide open. Carla remains at the facility, though now as a voluntary patient. We exchange occasional letters. She's training to become a peer counselor, using her experience to help others newly diagnosed with similar conditions. The scar on my cheek has faded to a thin white line, barely visible unless you know to look for it. Like the emotional scars, it's part of me now, a reminder of survival, of strength. I've learned that love isn't always enough. That mental illness can't be cured by devotion alone. Most importantly, I've learned that standing firm doesn't mean standing alone. Some storms you can't outrun. You can only weather them and emerge stronger on the other side.
Bye.